So this is the walk around of my Survivor 1995 Honda Civic Si. It has just over 62,000 miles on it. It is all original, a Minnesota car. So I got this Survivor 1995 Civic Si about 2015. The story behind it is my neighbor, who was an old Honda guy too, he brought it home and he said, hey, the lady just turned this into the dealership. She was the only owner, and I bought it, and I knew I could buy it and you would pay me a little bit more for it, and I did. At the time, the dealership gave him a Carfax stating one owner, just that one lady. He did have to register it in his name because he bought it from the dealership, and then I registered it in my name, I think about a month later. So I'm technically the third owner, but I do have the Carfax from when he bought it from the dealership. It has all the booklets and the service records and all of that good stuff. Really, other than the body having some small amounts of rust and the hail damage, I knew that my goal was to preserve this. Only drove it a couple times. I feel pretty guilty just putting miles on it, so I only drove it a couple times. But it's been in storage for about 4 years now, and I just recently brought it back out. I did drive it just a few times, and it was a lot of fun, but it makes you feel kind of guilty driving around in a 62,000 mile car. For me, it did anyway. My goal with the car was to preserve it and to have all of the hail damage and rust fixed so that everything was back to day one, and that was the goal with the car. When I first got it, I did take the suspension components out, and things like the sway bar, the coil springs, those were all re-powder coated black. And things like the control arms with the original bushings and stuff, which can't be powder coated because of the oven temperature, I did sandblast those, prime and paint them. So underneath the car looks very, very good. It really was just a matter of me getting around to doing the paint, and I don't really have the heart to do it. Like, that's, especially for a car that I don't really intend on, this isn't something I want to drive after I had the master plan of getting it all fixed up. I just kind of knew what it was and knew I had to preserve it. I was never intending on really driving it. So these days, I am building things that I can drive, things that I want to drive, like my 88 CRX SI project. So I'm spending time doing that, and I think this one, it's time for somebody to love it, possibly fix it, maybe keep it the way it is. But I did put some new Honda hubcaps on it. I did order those when I first got the car. I have a brand new set of floor mats from Norm Reeves Honda, one of the last ones I could find, and I haven't put those in. Those floor mats were intended to go in the car after the paint and day one, restoration. So I do still have those in the box that the next owner will get to put into the car. Maybe when the paint and stuff is fixed, and maybe not. So here in the interior, It is fantastic. On this driver's seat, when I initially got the car, you could feel a bar coming through here, and you can kind of see a little discoloration of where that bar was starting to be abrasive to that fabric. I had a upholstery guy take that seat apart. He said there was one support bar that had come undone or something in there, and that's why it was doing that. But he did re-weld the bar in, re-padded that portion of the seat, and then put it all back together. So it doesn't feel like anything anymore. It's just a matter of a little bit of discoloration. Towards the end of 2015, I did take all of the lights out and put it on some junk wheels because it was going to go to a painter who I knew, who ended up doing absolutely nothing to it. And so 6 months later, I just went and picked the car up, and then I stored it for about 4 years. Brought it out of storage just a couple months ago, put all the lights back in, put some new really cheap tires on it, just, the cheap tires I could find. And the hubcaps that I had purchased initially. So it's, and I did just redo the rear brakes when I first drove it out of storage. The brake rotors had some, not grooves, but they were definitely in that same position for a while, and it was causing a vibration. So in the rear, I do have new discs, and the brake pads were new since I did them right when I got the car. So that's a little bit about this car that found me one day, and I will never find it again, but it's time for somebody else to enjoy it and love that 90s Honda thing that we all have, or that I have. And if you have any questions about the car or anything, feel free to leave them in the comments, and thanks for watching.